In this lesson, we're going to have a look at how we can use the idea of a beat to help us measure out sounds in a piece of music. Because really, we have to become very good at controlling how long or short we should be playing sounds for if we're going to produce a piece of music that we might recognise. So as you can hear in the background, we have Mr. Metronome ticking away for us, and that's going to be really important as we start to count in beats. So this is really what the metronome is doing for us. We can imagine time just going on forever as an infinite line, and so the metronome is helping us to measure out time into equal chunks. At the moment it's going at 92 beats per minute, which is a very comfortable beat to be working with. Each of the chunks of time that the metronome is giving to us we're going to call one beat, because it lasts exactly in between two of the clicks of the metronome. So this distance in time, this amount of time, is going to be known as one beat, and then the next amount of time that sits in between the next two clicks, that's also going to be one beat, and then exactly the same is true. And so we can start to measure out the sounds we're playing in terms of how many beats those sounds are going to last for. So imagine that I wanted to play a sound that fitted exactly in between two of the clicks of the metronome. That would be called a one-beat sound. And actually, as humans, we're very good at being able to get the idea of a particular beat into our head and then fit the sounds that we're going to play in between those clicks, or the beat. So imagine that I wanted to play a sound that fits in between these two clicks. I've got my piano here. It's making a nice do sound at the moment, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the idea of the beat into my head, and then I'm going to play a do sound that fits in between two of the clicks of the metronome. So the metronome is going tick, 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 tick. There we go. That was it. That was as simple as that. So I've just played a sound there that fits in between two of the metronome's clicks. Let's try it one more time. So it's going click, 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 click. And there we go, that's our first one beat note. Now obviously, on its own, a one beat note isn't that useful, it's not going to be very exciting as music, but we could, for example, put a lot of one beat notes together to start playing a melody. And all a melody is a series of notes that come together in a line. So let's try a very simple melody made up completely of one beat notes. Tick, 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 tick. And you'll hear that all the sounds that I'm playing, they fit very nicely in between the ticks of the metronome. Now sometimes, of course, we might want to play a sound that lasts for more than one beat. So imagine we wanted a sound that was going to stick around with us for 4 beats. So that would be this amount of time. If we think of the metronome clicking away, we'd need to start playing a note and then wait for 4 clicks to go by, and then that's the end of our 4-beat note, our 4-beat sound. So let's have a go at that. And it's actually, as musicians, we often count along with the beats as they go by to help us keep track. Because imagine if you had to play a note that lasted for 30 beats or something like that, then you might lose track if you didn't keep count. So most of the time when we play very long notes, I mean 4 beats isn't actually that long in the grand scheme of music, but when we play a note that's more than, say, 1 or 2 beats, we tend to count it so that we make sure we play it for the right number of beats. So let's have a go at that. So we have to once again get the idea of the beat into our heads. There it is, it's going tick, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I now played a note that was 4 beats long. Tick, 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 tick. Now I might want to play a melody that makes use of 4-beat sounds, and that would just be a string of 4-beat sounds put together. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to play a melody, and each of the sounds that I use in the melody will be 4 beats long, and I'll try and count along in time with them so you can hear how they fit together. So once again, we need to get the idea of the beat set up first, because everything we play is going to be based on that. So it's going tick, 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 tick. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's as simple as that. Now, the reason that it's great to be working with beat in music is that sometimes we want to play music that sounds fast, and sometimes we want to play music that sounds slow. And the way we can do that is change the speed of the beat, and everything else will get faster or slower in line with that beat. So let's have a go at that. Say we wanted to slow everything right down. So now everything is a lot slower. This is a beat of 52 beats per minute. So slower than 1 beat every second. Just a little bit slower than that. Now, even though the beat is a lot slower, I'm going to measure out my sounds in exactly the same way. So if I want to play a sound that lasts for 1 beat, I've got to start playing the sound and make sure it fits in between 2 clicks of the metronome. So it's going to last a lot longer because the clicks are much more spaced out than they were. So let's just get the idea of the beat. So when we change the speed of a beat, sometimes it takes us a bit of time just to get that feel of the new beat into our head. So let's just make sure we've got that very clearly. It's going tick, 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 and it feels really slow because we've come down a lot in terms of our beats per minute. But exactly the same way, I'm going to try and fit a note exactly in between 2 clicks of the metronome. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, so as you can see, the note was a lot longer, and that's because the speed of the beat is much slower. We can do exactly the same thing in measuring out longer sounds. Let's do a 4-beat sound at this slower speed. Tick, 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 tick. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that felt like forever because the beats were coming so slow, and actually that's something that can catch us out as musicians, particularly when we play at slow tempos, as we think, well, this can't possibly be a 4-beat note because I've been sat here for such a long time. But the length of the beat is purely dependent on the speed that we set, and so if we want to play something really slowly, we can set an incredibly slow beat, and equally, if we want to play something really quickly, we can set an incredibly fast beat. So let's try that now. Now, if you had a heartbeat at this speed, this is 132, chances are you have just been for a very long run, because this is kind of the top end of where heartbeats generally tend to go. But exactly the same way, if I wanted to play sounds, I'm still measuring them out in terms of this beat that's ticking away underneath. So I'm going to play a melody now that makes use of 1-beat sounds. So every sound I'm going to play is going to fit exactly in the spaces, exactly in the gaps between each of the ticks of the metronome. And they're going to be very short, because as you can hear, the metronome is ticking very, very often. So let's get the beat. I'm not going to count along this time because it's going too fast, but I'm still going to get the idea of the tick in my head. So it's going tick, 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 tick. So hopefully you can hear that every time the metronome ticks, I'm changing the note that I'm playing. I'm playing this hugely thrilling and exciting melody. Now the clever bit comes when we turn the metronome off, because what we have to do as musicians is have that idea of beat ticking away in our heads all of the time, even if there's no obvious way of hearing it. So there might be no metronome, or there might be nothing going on in the music that shows us what the beat is. We've got to have it there going away. And if I just stop talking for a minute, hopefully you can maybe still hear the metronome ticking away. I had it going for so long. Now I can still hear that going on in my head, even though it's not there anymore. It was something like, particularly the last one, the fast one, the 132 beats per minute sound was something like tick, 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 tick. So even though the metronome's not there anymore, I can use my musical skills, if you like, to measure out sounds that are still 1 beat long. So let's have a go at that. I'm going to do exactly the same thing, but with no metronome there. So let's just get the beat set up. It went tick, 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 tick. Now in my head, I've still got the metronome sound going along so that I can measure out these sounds. Tick, 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 tick. And that's it, it's as simple as that. So whenever you hear somebody playing music, they'll have this idea of beat going on in their heads, even if there's no metronome or no sense in the music that there is a beat there. They'll always have it, and they'll be counting the sounds that they're playing in terms of those beats. And when we get really good at being able to measure out sounds in terms of beats, we can produce some really exciting rhythms. So let's have a look at some basic rhythms right now.